Today on the Keep the Change podcast, we're going to be talking debt, and we have the lovely Sasha Lockley in the studio from Money Sweetspot to help us think about a debt reset for those of us who may need one, and I certainly did many, many years ago.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah. So you've got a pretty fascinating enterprise that you're running. I've been keeping an eye out over the last 12 months. It feels like it's gone really quick.
Yeah. Sometimes really quick and sometimes feels like it's been like forever.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Before we get into Money Sweetspot and what it does and some data and stats and all the sexy stuff, what were you doing prior to Money Sweetspot to bring you to this sort of space?
Oh, I've done all sorts of weird things.
Yeah.
So back in the last recession, I worked for the Serious Fraud Office.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine the sort of stuff I was looking at around financial services then. And then I was the head of ops for a big finance company here in New Zealand. So
Cool.
Yeah, so from the sector, an accountant, but kind of quite frustrated with the lack of support for people that were trying to do their best.
Yeah, nice. So the first time I spotted what you guys were doing would have been around March 2023 and Money Sweetspot sort of popped up and I thought, oh, okay, here's a way to consolidate some debt maybe, was about all that I was sort of picking up from it. And then I dug a bit deeper. But do you want to take us through maybe this last year of what or how Money Sweetspot started and then what you've gone on to do in this last 12 months and longer?
Yeah, wicked. So it's a really meandering journey that started actually back in 2021 when I decided that lending was a bit broken and that there were lots of people, good people, that a bad thing happened to them. They might have lost their job, they might have been ill, and that those bad things that happened meant that people were in this kind of debt spiral and bad things like continue to happen. And then you're like, shit, how do people build themselves out of that? So in about 2022, I left the really amazing, well-paying job to go, fuck it, we just have to do better for these people across the country, like you and me. We're good people, that a bad thing can happen and debt shouldn't be a thing that defines us. So in 2021-22, decided that I wanted to create a new type of lender, a lender that was sustainable, that helped people out of debt rather than kept them in it, because lots of lenders, that's how they make money, right? They just keep charging interest, cross-sell you and upsell you and have another product and we'll just keep you in debt forever. I was like, no, the thing that needs to happen is somewhere that people can breathe, they can reset and they can focus on getting out of debt. And then I kind of went, well, actually, it seems a bit stupid to me that nobody recognises the work that it takes around your finances. So why don't we go, well, we'll help you reset your debt and we'll reward you for engaging in financial education. And then that'll help you get out of debt faster. That'd be pretty sweet too. Sure. And then I went, cool, well, what about if we also thought about how your individual work around your financial life, how could that create something generous in community? I was like, sweet, okay, if you stay on track with your reset, then we'll also get you to donate to charity that you choose. I wonder if we could build a finance company like that. And I was like, shit, I need to try and find investors that don't want to make shitloads of money, be the biggest, have lots of products on a roadmap, but just really want to help New Zealanders breathe again and reset. So it took 2 years to figure out people, I was going to say crazy enough, probably we're all a bit crazy, but I just want to show that there's a different way. So in kind of December 2022, we ended up launching. We did a seed raise, got some cool investors on board. BNZ came on board with our loan capital and we launched out into the big wide world, not knowing whether this financial reset thing would be a thing New Zealanders would really want, because everybody's used to staying in debt and it just becomes a thing, a bit like paying rent forever. Yeah. Like, would people really want to reset their debt? And since then, so we've now got 620 customers that we've helped with $15 million worth of debt. They've saved on average $4 million worth of interest. We've helped another 3,500 access free education through our digital platform. And then the customers that have stayed on track, they've donated $30,000 to causes that they care about because they've stayed on track. And they've looked at 10,000 pieces of financial education that's given them 20 grand off their loans. Cool, eh?
Very cool.
Yeah. And we've lost 50 customers because I've got to get that one in because
that's the goal.
That's the goal, is we just want to lose everybody as fast as possible because then we can recycle the capital. We can help somebody else. So we've lost about 50 customers already. People have gone into first homes, tidied everything up, been able to move on. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
With a place for the reset, not forever.
Far out. What does it take to, because it's a pretty big goal to have a crack at and a pretty big problem. And I think a lot of people talk about building a social enterprise or doing something with purpose and all those sorts of things. It's really sexy. But how the hell do you walk into BNZ and be like, hey, I've got a good idea. Like, let's help some people actually get out of debt. Do you want to back me?
Yeah, I was so flipping determined. Like, this is just an obvious problem to solve that, and I just kept going. And I actually left my job in 2020 and it took 2.5 years to get the idea over the line, do lots of research, do lots of listening in community, because who the fuck am I to say what a new lender needs to look like? I really needed to take some time to go, no, what are people really facing and what would really help them? So 2.5 years. And BNZ did come on board at the same time as those equity investors. So
but you've got to convince them too, the equity people, right? So you're basically, for those who don't understand, and I'm guessing, but you can tell me if I'm wrong, you're going to people saying, hey, I've got this idea, we need money to lend out to be able to basically buy the debt off of someone else to then hold the loan yourself. So you need people to back the idea that they can that they're going to get their money back eventually too. So you've got to convince them that it's a good idea to give you the money to do this and go out there and find the people that need the help.
Yeah. So we raised $1.5 million in our equity raise, and then we needed the money to lend. So BNZ gave us the initial $5 million to lend. So we got those two things joined together. And lots of people from my old career thought we were mad, that we'd never be able to build a finance company for less than $1.5 million. We built it for way less than that. It was a few $100,000. So anybody that says you can't do innovation in this sector is talking bullshit, actually. And I think that I wish more people would just give it a go. So we managed to, in December 2022, we got the equity over the line, the 1.5 mil, and we got the debt over the line at the same time.
Can you just talk us through, because I know it probably feels simple for you now looking back, but you've gone out there and raised effectively $6.5 million to get going, right? Like, did you have experience in getting people to give you money? Had you learnt some of that at the Serious Fraud Office, watching what other people were doing?
I want to do the opposite way. It's like storytelling is really my thing. So I'm I believe in the story. So I'm not experienced in raising money, but I really believe in the story, and that's what I focused on. And I did get some help along the way with people that had raised before. I joined, I'm an Edmund Hillary Fellow, and there's lots of entrepreneurs, social impact entrepreneurs and investors in there. So they give me a bit of a leg up there. But no, never done this before in my life. Like, I come from like a little town in England called Stafford, where you get a job, you keep the fucking job, and you hope you never lose it. And that's what you're doing. You'd be damn grateful for it.
Yeah.
So for me to have had a career in New Zealand that had this like exec job with this big salary, and then go, I think I'll just walk away from it, earn nothing for this idea. Like, you can imagine my family in England being like, I'm completely bonkers and I've never done it before. But I had to do it. Like, the worst that can happen right now is we've already helped 620 families. Like, that's the worst that can happen. And the investors and the funders that we've got all know that too.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's get into some of the nitty gritty of how it works, just so that people tuning in sort of get what it is that you do. So do you want to talk us through some of maybe the process that people go through and the people who are using you? And then I think it'll help people make sense of what actually happens when they engage you guys.
Yeah. So just like anybody else, we're a debt consolidation. That's what our loan product is, really, is that we bundle up many debts like credit cards, car loan, sometimes buy now, pay later's in there. We bundle it up into one loan at an interest rate that's probably lower than you're paying, and then your contracts with us. And then during your loan with us, you can do the education, you earn some points, that becomes money that comes off your loan that helps you out of debt faster. Simple. Nice.
So then I take a loan with you now, and then you go and clear my credit card. So that stops my 86% interest rate. Joking. But, my 32 or my 18 or whatever, you go clear my buy now, pay later that I've got behind on, my car loan, wrap it all up into one, and now I pay you a set repayment each week or month.
Yeah, that's right. And then our product's called a reset, because we ask kind of two things from you. We ask for you to avoid new debt in the future, and not all lenders will do that. They'll give you a debt consolidation, but they don't really give a monkeys if you bugger off and go and get some more debt elsewhere.
Yeah.
Our contract with you is like, we're with you for the next 2 or 3 years while you get out of debt. You need to commit to not taking on any more debt and paying on time. And we'll commit to supporting you throughout this journey as well with that education.
Yeah.
So, you pay us directly. We pay everything else off. You close everything else off down and the work starts.
Getting in the KiwiSaver fund that suits you and your situation is key to making sure you're maximizing your investment. Generate are an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of long-term performance, and they can help you do exactly this. Their advisors can meet with you to talk about all your options when it comes to KiwiSaver to help you decide what's best for you. Too many people never get KiwiSaver advice, but not you. Go to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no-obligation chat with a Generate advisor. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns. So I'd imagine if you said you've got 3,500 people who have been able to use the educational side but not yet perhaps get any money, you can't service everybody, right? Because I'm sure you've been inundated with people going, hey, like help me fix the situation, and you wouldn't be able to help everybody.
No, the people that we're most likely to help are working, renting, generally staying on top of everything. They might have missed a few payments, had a few bits and bobs happen, but we can help people that are juggling in New Zealand. People that are like distressed, so it could be that they're super behind on bills and payments. We can't help them because we're just a lender like everybody else. We've got responsible lending principles. Everybody has to afford to repay the loan. It can be really hard. Some months we've only been able to help like 5 out of 100 people that come to us.
Wow.
But sometimes it's 60 out of
Nice.
100. But people that are juggling and want to sort it out, generally they're the people that we can help.
Yeah. So years ago, I mean, this is close to my heart because I got to the point where I had Q cards and I had credit cards and whatnot. And I always thought I was pretty responsible with them, but really they were just driving me to consume more and then just stay in that life. But I, had to basically start I need to clear this credit card, then I need to clear the Q card, then I need to, what else did I have? I can't even remember now. It feels like ages ago, but it was very real at the time. But one thing that I did a credit card balance transfer to take the interest back to zero, which effectively consolidated my debt or gave me a runway to go, right now I've got 26 weeks to pay that off. But that's the same sort of thing, right? So people are coming to you saying, right, here's a situation I've got myself into. And then you're helping bundle all of that up, clear it, give them a reset, and then slowly start chipping away at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like it sounds like you knew the game of debt that you needed to play. So you're like, wicked, I can go and transfer it for 0%. Lots of people don't have that choice at the moment because there's not a lot of those out there, right?
Yeah.
So, if people have got, a Q card or a Gem Visa at 29% and a bit of a car loan and a bit of this and a bit of that, that in itself is quite a lot of juggle. So chucking it all into one payment, probably at lower interest, and smashing it out.
Win-win. I think there'll be people that don't even know that this exists. I was lucky enough that when I had debt that I knew there were always sort of solutions, which also makes you dangerous because then you think, I can do the balanced credit card transfer thing, but it's then changing the behavior of not getting another credit card, and that can be the hard thing, which I'm sure you can probably talk to. But then there'll be the second group of people who were probably like me. I looked at debt consolidation years ago and thought, great idea, but you just get charged 25% or something. So you kind of just move all your debts from over there at an average rate of say 30% and now put them over there, and now it's just bundled together, but it's still 25%. And I'd go, I don't know about that. Maybe I'll just pay one of them off at a time or whatnot. But I think you guys have a very low average interest rate compared to the knowledge that I had about this at say 25%, right?
Yeah. So our average interest rate sits around 15%. And in comparison, lots of the banks at the moment for their unsecured loans, they'd be sitting at 13 or 14%. And most people that we're helping are paying 32, 28% interest. So, it can make a real difference reducing down that interest rate. But again, with us, the financial education, if you've got a 10 grand loan with us, you can earn $500 off your loan by doing the education as well. So you earn the points that then can be redeemed off your loan balance. So it's kind of like a double whammy, double benefits, like your interest rate's lower and do some work and get extra treats.
Nice. So you've sort of gamified. It's not just the interest rate that is then cheaper to then allow you to pay off your debt and get debt-free faster. You're actually saying, well, actually, whilst you're here, you might as well get something out of this. Let's learn some shit along the way too. And then you're going to arm yourself by the time you get to not having the debt. But then you're saying you actually earn money rewards by learning.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
Cool, eh?
Yeah. And so then that clears my debt down faster.
Yeah. And then it's good business sense as well, right? Because if people get out of debt and they're on their merry way, we can help somebody else. So it's, it's a reciprocal, like we're both getting something out of it.
Yeah. Well, your goal is to get people out of debt and then recycle the cash, right? Whereas modern finance is basically how can we keep you in debt and ensure that you're a good payer so that we don't lose our capital, right?
Yeah. Like in other places I've worked, we would be like, how can we'll do a top-up campaign. Our good payers, let's just go do a top-up campaign. And do you want some more debt for Christmas? Like people, everybody's going to talk to you in November, December and ask you to get into more debt for Christmas. That's what the system does, is to encourage you to get into debt.
Good warning ahead of time, right? Ahead of what's coming. Yeah, just thinking back to it, I used to get those random letters. Hey, you've been approved for another $5,000 extension to your credit card. I think, shit, I am going all right if they're going to give me another $5,000 here. I didn't need it, but it was always tempting once the seed is planted of, I can access that. Yeah. So I think you said earlier, actually before we started recording, anyone that has debt over, say, 12% and they are in a good position to start repaying debt is probably an ideal client of Money Sweetspot.
Yeah. So people who are paying over 12%, they're probably employed, juggling their finances. We want the most motivated Kiwis that want to get out of debt. We can help about another 600 people between now and March next year. So if you want to start 2025 without the debt that's sat there at 30% right now, perhaps, that. Yeah. Those credit cards then,
And how much have you got to lend by March? How much is sitting there waiting to go out?
About 7 million.
Just a casual 7 mil.
Just a casual 7 mil or 600 people, bring it on.
Yeah. Well, this is maybe validation for people listening to get in touch and to actually ask and put your hand up and say, hey, can you help me? There's no shame in it. There's no judgment. The website feels really friendly and there's no real hook or secret to what you're doing, right? You're actually just trying to help people. And then people are going to then ask, well, how do you have that money? So I'll let you answer that, but it sounds like you kind of answered it earlier where BNZ, if effectively, I'd imagine they lend you some money at a rate and then you've still got to pay the debt back and the interest, right?
Yeah. So we've got some money with BNZ, but we've also got impact investors. So we've got the likes of the Tyndall Foundation and Te Pai Kitarangi, who are impact investors that have given us the debt that also want to help New Zealanders. So they're not after a quick buck either and lots of profit out of this either. They're about helping people get out of debt. So that's where that $7 million comes from, is that impact investors are coming to the party rather than banks or other finance companies. It's people with good heart that believe in this problem as well.
Nice. I saw, is it the Tyndall Foundation have invested as such or contributed $5 million, is that right?
Yeah, so that's the money that we've got available between now and March. We've got part of that $5 million is from the Tyndall Foundation. Super stoked with their support. They're amazing.
I love that, because I think it's a good example of how once you have means and you have cash, then you can decide the things that you care about and what to back people with. And I think there's too much of a narrative in New Zealand around, all rich people just rip everyone off and they're assholes and all of this sort of shit. And that just, if you keep learning that, it doesn't actually serve you well. But then when you see examples like this where they go, we really like what you're doing. Hey, here's $5 million, go out there and do your thing. We can't do that. We don't want to do it, but we're going to back you to do it. It's basically the reverse of what other people talk about when they talk about people who have, money that they can do, things with.
Yeah. And before I did this, I didn't even know that existed, to be honest. I'd got a similar narrative around rich people, getting richer and all of that. And I
just buy yachts and shit. That's all they do.
Helicopters.
Yeah.
But the journey of 3 years is the impact investing network here of good people that have wealth and have done wealth through lots and lots of different ways, right? They are being really strategic around the initiatives they're supporting. And I reckon that's a big opportunity for New Zealand, actually. Yeah. It's the new lot of wealth coming. Even me with no money, right? Where can I choose to put and be generous even in the situation I'm in right now, and how can I be strategic about the causes that I want to support? And that's what I think about, even when I don't have the
the means
multiple
that some of these
zeros
people-
of
yeah.
the Tyndall Foundation.
Yeah, I like it. And maybe it's like a little bit biblical, and Christianity and stuff, they talk a lot about this, but that concept of giving and actually giving even before you have a lot of means, because that it's not like you just get rich and then become this real giving person. I think everybody thinks that that's how it is. Or, on the other side, you might start making more and then you become an investor. And yeah, like some people cannot, because there is nothing there, but we can still learn the principles, whether it's a cent, 10 cents, $5 and things like that, but actually just leaning into and practicing that stuff. It always feels like it's the people who bark the most about other people are often not doing anything themselves, but then they're like, oh, well, I can't, not me. How could I? I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And because it's about generosity, right? Like one of the things that I think about a lot is that a person's value isn't the money that's in their pocket. Like, we can be generous in lots and lots of different ways, right? So how can we be generous even if we have debt? How can we be generous even if, like me, you run 3 kids and running around like a headless chicken? How can I continue to be generous? And it doesn't have to be about cash.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to challenge people who are sort of saying, oh, the rich people need to pay more in tax and all that sort of stuff. I go, right, well, you're quite time rich. How about you invest some of that time into volunteering to a cause that you care about? Oh, no, that's not what I mean. It's not about that. And you're like, well, but anyway, we're getting on a tangent there. So 600 people that you're keen to help by the end of March. You've got $7 million there. Yep. Hopefully a lot of the people listening to Keep the Change have tidied up their debt, but I know realistically it's not the case. How can they get in touch if they want to see if they can qualify for some help?
Yep. So you go straight to our website, moneysweetspot.co.nz. It's a digital platform, a digital application, just like you'd expect from any other lender. So click the apply button there. It will fill in a few details, takes a few minutes, and then one of the team will call you back.
Wow. Simple as that.
Simple as that. We have to compete with normal lenders, right, around the experience.
Yeah.
The difference is that we'll take the time to understand the story. Like, are you ready to reset your finances? And how's this going to deliver to your future? Like, we want to understand that so we can see how we can help you.
In a world of increasing profits and maximizing investment and getting the best return and surely you're copping some shit in this industry from people saying, like, they must have a knock on you about something. Like, what is it that you're hearing? Or are you doing that good that no one says anything?
I think some of the traditional finance players, I'm trying to think about the right thing to say, right? I believe that what we're doing is so bloody logical that everybody should copy us, right? Yeah. Because businesses will still make a profit. They'll still be impactful and they'll genuinely help. So I don't get flack publicly to my face, but I do see some of our traditional lenders try and muscle in on what we're trying to do.
And kind of compete with you in some way? Or,
yeah, compete with us in some way. And you know what? If other providers, we're not here to compete, actually. We're here for a particular purpose, right? So if people can be well served elsewhere, get a lower interest rate, it can deliver on what they need, bloody go there, right? But if you're a person that wants to get out of debt and you do want to learn and figure this shit out, then we're the place for the reset. We're not the place if you want to stay in debt forever.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. You're not there to compete. You're there to fucking annihilate the industry, okay?
I did not say that. You said that.
But you're doing something different. You're not doing what they're doing, so therefore you're not competing. You're like, no, we're going to do it this way, and therefore we're not going to compare ourselves to you guys because we're not in business. We're not in competition. You're absolutely, cutting your own path, doing something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one. What's the biggest amount of debt you've been able to reset?
$50,000.
50 rack. Wow, it's a decent amount of coin, eh?
It is, and that's outside. Like the maximum we wanted to do was 40, but this individual has just gone through a whole heap of shit. So part of our we listened to the story and realised how the 50 grand got there, and then we reset all of it.
Nice.
The average now is about 15,000 that we help with.
15.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. And is it like a blend of 2 or 3 types of credit, or is it like one thing?
Credit cards, a couple of particular lenders. crop up a lot that are higher interest lenders that have existed for a really long time. And
should I name some names and just making rhyming? No,
you will not.
no, of course we won't.
No, we do refinance buy now, pay later because people.
Are you sure? Because I was told that no one ever gets behind on buy now, pay later.
Yeah, it's this bullshit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's bullshit. What happens is that people use different buy now, pay later services.
Oh, multiple.
Yeah, they use multiple. So we did some research and found that on average, people were spending nearly $2,000 a month on buy now, pay later.
What, everyday people or people
Everyday people.
$2,000 a month?
$2,000 a month.
I'm going home.
So, So the buy now, pay later. So I don't hate like I have to be a bit like, I don't hate innovation. I don't hate what the product of buy now, pay later is. I don't hate that. But what I do hate is when those products end up harming people because of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
Like so people do end up chucking them into a loan, including with us, but they'll be putting those into a loan with other lenders as well that might be charging 29% interest. So it looked like it was interest free, but if you put it into debt, you're paying interest.
So they're getting behind on one or two of those types of buy now, pay later, and then that triggers the interest, which is 20% plus, and so therefore...
Yeah, it doesn't trigger interest in the buy now, pay later, but they might get behind and then reach out and go, shit, I'm just going to have to bundle this up and go and get into some debt to pay them all off.
Yeah. What happens like in behind the scenes when you go to one of these buy now, pay later type companies and say, hey, we're going to clear this?
So we don't talk to them directly.
Yeah.
We just repay the facility and get the facility closed down.
I see.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, then how do you trust that the person actually closes it down?
Yep. So we've got part of our onboarding process and they give us documentation and evidence. It's part of the social contract between you and me around the financial reset. And then what we do is we check every month as part of our loan agreement around the inquiries that you've got on your account and any new facilities. So that's part of the agreement that you've got with us, is that we'll help you to avoid taking on new debt. Now, people do take on new debt, but it could be for a good reason. It could be a mortgage. Yeah. It could be that actually the car blew up and the only way that they can actually get to work is through getting some car loan. So it's not, we don't think debt's bad. We think that uncontrolled debt is bad, that can put you back in a spiral. So we really want to make sure that we support you to never do that again.
Nice. Are the people who are coming to you, are they at that point in their life where they are like, right, I'm ready to change, baptize me, whatever you need to do, like tidy me up. I will not go back there anymore. Because I'd imagine, I mean, I see this with clients in the business space where I've learnt my lesson, etc., and then they go back and do the same thing again. I'm like, oh, you haven't really changed who you are.
Yeah, so we did some analysis on our 4,000 applications, right? And one of the things that we capture is like the reason for the reset. So yes, that has happened. So we've got some people that come on board and you know what, they've gone, it's too hard. Yeah. And they've gone and got into more debt, and that has happened. And I used to get quite upset about it and think that I failed in some way, like Sweetspot's failed. But we've got to recognise that none of us are perfect and we're going to continue to make mistakes. So we have to focus on the like 60% of people that are super engaged and super motivated and aren't getting into any more debt, or are ringing us and going, normally what I do right now is I'd apply for a credit card and I'd sort it out, but I know I'm not meant to do that, so I'm going to talk to you about it now. So it's just having that little barrier between the normal behaviour and what you choose to do now.
Yeah, and look, I get it. I was the same. I'd be like, right, never again. I'm never getting a credit card again, all those sorts of things. But it is really hard to change the person who you are. It's not as, I mean, there's psychologists, that's what they do for their whole life, is trying to help people understand that concept. And we can just talk about like, oh, just change and you'll be fine. Don't use it, don't use your debt anymore, and start saving and start investing, and you'll be, fine for your future. It's a lot harder than, is said.
Yeah, and we just got to learn the rules of the game, right? And I make mistakes all the time. Like, Jesus, I'm 43 and I don't think I've got money sorted or debt. Like every day I'm realising something about myself. So you just got to focus on learning and doing a little bit better and not beating yourself up too much if you do make a mistake. Like, get back on the bandwagon, sort it out.
Yeah, I think the thing for a lot of us is we actually we have learnt something, but then we might then feel like we can be judged, or it's embarrassing to ask for help. And I'm sure you hear a lot of that, right? Yeah,
heaps. Yeah, people are scared. They don't want to be judged. They're full of shame. So they do go to ground if they're missing payments, or it is really tricky. What we've noticed with the people that we've helped is that the people that are the most likely to be successful are those that have got an intrinsic motivation. So something inside inside of them that they're like, I am going to do this better for my family. It might be a goal for the future, like a home or people traveling overseas, but they've got an internal motivation rather than the like a victim motivation of, well, that they made that all happen to me and it's all there.
Yeah, they should never have lent me that money. This is bullshit. I didn't know.
All that.
Yeah.
So the people that are most likely to be successful with a financial reset are those that have got a goal and that they are super internally motivated to sort this out. They're the most likely to be successful with us.
Well, there's a good lesson for all of us there, whether we're in debt or whatnot, right, is to find our why, find our intrinsic and internal motivation and figure out, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for?
Yeah, exactly. Else it just becomes like a number on a spreadsheet again and you get used to paying the debt again and it doesn't mean anything other than it's another bill that you always have to find. Like that doesn't mean anything. So for us, it's about focusing on being out of debt, and that's a real mindset shift, I think, for New Zealanders, because we are a nation that has got used to being in debt in some way, shape or form. So being out of it, like imagine what that would feel like. What would that free up for you? What freedom is that? And like holding on to that's really important.
I was going to actually ask, do you have to put education in the process around that? Because I think a lot of people would get out of debt and then go, shit, I don't know what to do now. And then almost fall back into their old ways just to feel comfortable again.
Yeah, so the platform that we've got includes all of those aspects. So you can create your financial planning, your financial life, and look at interests around investing and KiwiSaver and all of those good things as well. We're not an advisor, so it's information that people can choose to do with what they will. But yeah, absolutely, we'll look at that too.
Nice, so you're setting them up for the next stage of their journey. Yeah. And talk us through difference in stats between men or women coming to you.
Yeah, so 60% of our customers are women, and let me have a look. Hang on.
Let's get some stats out.
Let's get some data. Right, so 60% of our customers are women, and most people are between the ages of 26 and 35. 40% don't have kids, so that kind of age bracket sweet spot. What we've learned is that that's because people are motivated around housing. That seems to be like a really big thing, like first home buyers, like how can I sort this out? I'm in my mid 20s, early 30s. I just want to get sorted now.
Yeah.
So those super motivated people, I think that's why we're there. And women are the most engaged in the financial education. They're smashing it out of the park compared to the men. So
what are you doing, lads? Sort your shit out. Bloody hell. It's good though. Good to see that they're kicking ass in this area.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think what's a bit strange, but it's logical, is that like people that are coming to help people that are coming for help, the women tend to have lower credit scores, so that access to products might be limited. So what that means is if people were trying to get loans elsewhere, and they might be paying a higher interest rate. So women, by coming to us, are saving some money, sorting their shit out and getting on with their lives. And I think that there's a real like cohort of like, we're going to sort this out. We've even got families like mums and daughters that are doing a reset together to sort their stuff out. Because they're like, no, we can do this.
Accountability buddy.
Yeah. Like
nice.
Bring on the competition, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. I think as well, for those younger people listening that are maybe 17 to 26, just like learn and understand that if you can avoid getting to this stage, you're going to save yourself having to use something like Money Sweetspot, which you'll actually be really happy about, right?
Yeah.
And this is no knock on those people who are 26 to 35, but the reason I say this is because I think a lot of people that are younger think, like it's too hard out there. I can't get ahead. It's all changed. Like I'm born at the wrong time, all of that stuff. But if you can avoid debt and start saving and just, not have to then go back and tidy things up. Like I had to go back and tidy up, and I didn't really get into my financial journey properly until I was 27. And, right, basically in that age group, right, which is your, I think that probably that time of your life where you're like, what the fuck? How did I get here? We've all had an overdraft, and then I had a cheap credit card, then I got a bigger one, and then I could get finance on this as well. And you're like, I didn't even intend on being in this world, and I knew better. How am I in here? Mm-hmm. And then you've got to play the game of, oh shit, here's 2 years to get out of this, or 2 or 3. But if you're 18 to 25 listening to this and you're tempted to go and get that finance or whatever, then maybe this is your wake-up call of like, oh shit, this could be your biggest lesson, is that you don't have to go through this whole stage of tidy up if you just never take it out in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's about 5% of people that are in that younger age group for Sweet Spot customers.
Okay.
Yeah, already.
Yeah.
And most of those people, it is a smaller loan amount and it's a shorter period of time to reset. So it could just be a year. Lots of that would be that buy now, pay later stuff that we talked about.
That's just what they've been marketed to and grown up with, right? That's the new thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And crikey, their marketing engines are amazing, right?
Yeah. Oh, unreal. Even I'm tempted to get them and I know better. Yeah, I haven't. Multi-Pacifica, because I hear then this is almost where it's different, where people will say to me in those communities like, oh no, we've never learned about this shit and we do get taken advantage of on the car yard and things like that. And I've heard that from financial mentors and I have no doubt that that happens. But equally, again, is what we we're talking about before, I'd imagine that they, don't then want to put their hand up, because if your friendship group don't know about this stuff and don't know like, oh mate, yeah, you are getting played. You're paying 20% interest on those sunglasses that you brought with the Gucci logo on the side or whatever, then how do you ever find the person that's like, oh dude, there's another way, get yourself out of this stuff? Beat the power game with PowerShop. If you want to get ahead with your money, you need to get ahead with your bills. Back in the day, I used to get a little thrill when a power bill would arrive in the mail and show that I was in credit. The thrill of being ahead of your bills is a feeling money can't buy. PowerShop is in the business of delivering that feeling. They do things differently, giving you the insight and control over your bill to stay ahead. With PowerShop, you can see what you're using and purchase power packs, which are discounted packs of power, ahead of time. This enables you to plan ahead and pay for power when it suits you. All in all, being with PowerShop means you're informed and empowered to take control of your power bill. So, what are you waiting for? Take charge of your dollars, kilowatts, and cents by switching to PowerShop. As a bonus, you can choose between a $150 credit or free weekends when you sign up. To see how much you could save, visit powershop.co.nz and get a savings estimate simply by uploading a recent electricity bill.
Yeah, it's about 30 to 40% of people we help in Mario Pacifica.
Yeah.
And you're right, like that. It's so difficult because the story of debt never gets told. You never shout really loud about the amount of debt you're in. Nobody ever shares it. I wish we did. That would be bloody amazing. There are local community services that do a great job, trying to support people with their finances. But, let's speak louder around what's actually going on out there for people. What I really like about this podcast, what I'd encourage people to think about is, you might be listening going, well, this actually doesn't apply to me because I've got myself out of debt, and you'll be listening to it thinking, shit, thank God I don't have to think about that stuff anymore. Think about it from a different angle of, who could you plant this in front of in your friendship group that you know is probably behind on debt, or who needs this information, but they're not at the start line yet. They're sitting there going, shit, I don't need to worry about that, etc. Or it might even be, you could own the conversation in a group chat and say, hey guys, is anyone behind on debt? You should listen to this podcast, understand that there are solutions to get yourself out of this stuff. Because I think we keep looking to the government and all these other people, and even people like yourself, to go like, hey, you just go out there and fix it all. But without it reaching the right ears and eyes, people don't even understand that it's a solution. Yeah, and lots of people wouldn't even know that we existed, right?
No.
We're still a small social enterprise that doesn't have the marketing budgets of lots of the other players. It's conversations like this that mean that somebody might hear and go, oh shit, this is the thing that could help me. And I think lots of the principles we're talking about, gamify your life, do the baby steps, keep doing the work, believe in yourself, all of the things don't just apply to debt, they apply to your life anyway. So I think that it's kind of...
Yeah, because I think it changes who you are. And then that's that breakthrough where you realise, I don't need debt anymore. Or, I have been able to save my first $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. Oh, wow, I do have an emergency fund or whatever. And then you do have those life moments where it doesn't go the way that you hope it would go, but you're financially sweet. And then it all makes sense. That's why I had insurance. Glad I could afford not to cancel that. That's what it was about, having an emergency fund. I've thought for the last 6 years it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And those become loud stories, but they are hard to resonate with if you're not facing those same circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And that lack of judgment as well, right? I think that's crucial. Don't have the judgment for yourself, because we're all going to carry on making mistakes, but you can prop yourself back up. You've learned some stuff and you can figure it out again. And sometimes we don't realise the lessons we've learned until something bad happens, like this economic cycle, right? You didn't realise all these tools that you got in your back pocket until you really bloody needed them.
Yeah.
You know, so imagine.
So no doubt there's a lot of people that you aren't able to help, as we spoke about before, but by the sounds of it, you can still then point them in the right direction of where they can get some help.
Yeah, so even the people that we can't help still get a copy of their credit report, their spending analysis, and then we try our best to connect them with the nationwide financial mentor community. So we offer that as a way through to getting help as well.
Nice. So you effectively, even by starting this, then you've got the customers that you can look after, but then you're also doing social good, or the role of, let's say, maybe the government or whoever's supposed to solve this piece of like, oh, you're stuck, you're struggling, you don't know where to go, you talk to us, you're actually supposed to be over there, help does exist, it's over there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're a really tiny part of this ecosystem, and we're always trying to like connect all the dots. That's why we're called Sweetspot.
Yeah.
Like, I only wanted to create the thing that was missing. I didn't want to displace all the other good stuff that's already happening. So that's why we're called Sweetspot, so we connect into everything else.
Nice. Going back to that average loan of, say, around $15,000, what's the average time it's taking people to clear that?
3 years.
Nice. Yeah.
But saying that, if people did the education, they can get out of debt faster. So that debt-free date becomes closer because they're in advance on the loan, right? So we had a dude who was in his mid-20s, professional, never shared his story of debt with his girlfriend even, was super ashamed because he was meant to be doing well. And he got rid of this debt in 18 months. And he was due to get rid of it in 5 years because it was a big loan. But he just smashed it out of the park, went and grabbed a second job, moved back in with his parents, told his girlfriend, like, phenomenal work, right?
Yeah.
So even if the debt-free date starts at 3 years or 4 years, you can do work so it's less than a year.
Speed it up. And so what other ways are there to get rewarded, or to have you guys clear some of the debt?
I reckon we're doing
want
right.
to know. Yeah. But like, is it signing up, or is it how do people earn some of those credits to clear the debt faster?
Yep. So just by having the loan with us, you get an amount depending on the size of your loan that you can earn each and every month. So it's just engaging in the financial education. You earn the points every month. We'll tell you how many points you earn, and every month we'll redeem that as money off your loan. Or you can choose, after 6 months, you can choose to put it in your savings account as well. You mentioned about having an emergency savings account for those unexpected things that happen. So our customers can also choose to start an emergency savings account if they'd prefer to do that as well.
Awesome. What does the future have in store for Money Sweetspot? How big's this going to get? What can you see?
Like I get asked this question, and Money Sweetspot will be as big as it needs to be.
So 50 billion?
It could be 50 billion, yeah, like $500 million. Yeah.
How much debt is out there? Yeah.
There's a shitload of debt. There's $18 billion worth of...
How much?
$18 billion worth of personal lending out there. I don't think it's our job to do all of that. I think that existing traditional people can do better by their customers. The next focus is about 35 million, because I think that at the moment not a lot of people know about us. We're still relatively small. We don't, have the huge TV marketing budgets that lots of other places do. So I reckon 35, 50 million we'd be making a real dent. And then the faster that people can repay, because they're super motivated, the faster we can relend it.
Nice, because then you can recycle it.
Exactly.
All right, here's a challenge for some people listening to this then. Maybe they could take this podcast and post it on their social media and tell people, hey, if you are struggling with debt or need to look at a debt consolidation, or if debt is weighing you down, check out Money Sweetspot. Provide your website, moneysweetspot.co.nz. Yeah. And then that, in a way, plants it in front of people without someone having to raise their hand and be like, hey, I need help, I'm stuck now, where do I go? It might just be the thing that someone in everybody's friendship circle goes like, oh, okay, I didn't know that existed.
And check out our, if you check out our Google reviews, you'll see the empathy theme and the lack of judgment that comes through from all of the people that we've helped. So that's what we pride ourselves on, is that we're a place of no judgment, that we'll listen to your story and we realise that we're all imperfect and we make mistakes, but we're the place to listen to that and figure out a plan.
Yeah.
So a place of non-judgment is really what we're after.
I mean, there's a lot of people, just changing tack a little bit on, out there that would love to start a social enterprise and things like that. But at the end of the day, you've still got to eat, you've still got to look after yourself and things like that, right? It must be hard balancing, trying to do so much good and give everybody what they need, but then at the same time still making sure that you've got the things that you need in your life.
Yeah, I mean, so I've got a business partner called Rig, and when we set up Sweetspot, we wanted to make sure that we would still pay ourselves well, pay our team well, and demonstrate you can be sustainable without, putting ourselves on the street. So that's been a key part of how we've set the business up anyway.
Nice.
And, I've got my fingers in lots of pies around this sector because that's what fills me up as well, like helping people. And I just believe we can do so much more. And I reckon people just need a bit more support.
Yeah.
Like, so they believe in themselves, like give people hope.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. How come we don't do that, do you think, in New Zealand? Like, where's the hope gone?
Where's the hope gone? Shit, that's a good question. I think that at the moment, like life is pretty tricky for people. So your capacity to think is like, it's like back here, I reckon, at the moment. Actually, you know what the answer is? I think that we need to tell more stories of hope rather than telling more stories of despair. Like, why don't we just fill the social media with stories of hope when people have smashed it out of the park, sorted their shit out, got into their first home? Why don't we fill social media with that instead of stories of despair and like depressed stuff? Like have stories of action instead.
Yeah, I think part of it's because the human brain like gravitates to the negative, so we like that shit, right? But yeah, it is. I feel like we are slowly turning. I put myself out there a lot and will often share things that going well for me and whatnot to try and role model a bit of that. I actually don't get as much blowback as sort of people will expect you to. It's you definitely get it from random people, but also putting yourself out there teaches you to accept that. Like, I was reading a comment before coming here of like, two fucking silver spooners on a podcast trying to tell people they've never done anything for anyone, and I'm like, okay, I might just delete the 500 podcasts that are, But you have to learn how to deal with that because people are just assuming things about you without actually understanding. But then I think it's those one or two comments that then stops people from showing their success or what things are going well for them.
Yeah, there's some gold in that, right? Like there really is some gold. I think like the bit I didn't tell you right at the start is the reason that Sweetspot exists is because all of the things that happen to New Zealanders around losing their job, mental health, addiction, unexpected death, all of those things. One day I realised that the reason why I used to get so upset for people was that they're all things that had happened to my family.
I see.
And that in my family, debt became this divining moment. Like my dad still lives in a council flat in the UK without any curtains, doesn't have a lot of money. And when his business went bankrupt, he never recovered.
Yeah.
So the reason Sweetspot exists is because we all need a place to breathe and reset so that we can have hope for ourselves and we can move forward. I haven't had a lot of backlash for setting up Sweetspot. And maybe it's because it's the truth.
Yeah, nice. It comes from a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. Not many people get to work on something that they really care about as much as what you do and will over your lifetime, right? So I'm sure it'll be really powerful for you. Yeah. I was talking to someone today who they were telling me how recently they've had a little bit of depression and they've been just feeling like they're not making progress and things like that. And as they were telling me, I was just thinking, it's just the environment. It's the environment. And then they said to me, it's probably just the environment that we're in, talking about the economy. And what they could identify that it was that they were hoping that they would make more progress, so then they have an expectation gap. But then what actually got them out of it is that they started talking to people who do even better than them, and they were saying, we're really struggling. We're not making much progress. And they're like,
I'm not alone.
But there's so much negativity coming towards you at the moment. And I think in this economy that people are like, there isn't much hope.
Yeah.
But I had the similar conversation with a client yesterday where I said, you can't compare this year to last year because last year was an outlier for you. You need to go back and compare this year to 2 years ago and the year before that, where it looks basically exactly the same. But now you've got a new frame of reference that's not realistic because last year was a complete outlier.
Yeah.
And I think, it's easy to get ourselves stuck with all of these sorts of things when really, when it gets hard, we just want to lean into the process. And I learned that when I was clearing my debt of so awesome making those first couple of payments down on the credit card and decreasing the balance and seeing it going, below $12,000, but then going, fuck, it's 12 grand to go.
Still got it to go.
This sucks. And then having the realization of, this is going to take a whole year to go. But then learning, yeah, now I have to just do the process. I made my bed, I got to lie in it, and now I have to lean into that. And it's actually been really helpful for me later on in life when shit gets boring and I'm like, I know I'm on the right path, but it's not sexy anymore. But what clearing my debt taught me is, now you've got to go back into the process now. And you go into the process, and then eventually the process ends and the sexy stuff starts again.
Yeah, that feels like you just gave me a lesson. Like for my ADHD brain, it's like, you just need to keep with the process. Because like for business, it's been a tough year. Like for our business, it was really hard. And it was amazing at the same time. You just got to keep going.
Well, maybe we're having this at the right time, because I've been thinking about this, right? Because we just had Keep the Change Unplugged, and you're on this massive high, and I've done enough to learn that those sorts of things can actually be very dangerous, because then you can get to the end of that and you're like, oh, shit, I need to do another one. I need to do that again, whether it's a rugby game or whatever, or win the grand final and stuff like that. And then when there's nothing, you then start to think like, oh, what's the point of doing this and whatnot? But what I was reflecting on is so many people were saying to me, messaging me like, you got to go to Wellington, you got to go to Christchurch, you got to let's make it bigger. And definitely I've got big things inside of me, but I'm grounded enough to be like, I have to be really careful. You know what I actually have to go back to? I got to go back to writing. I got to go back to interviewing the next person. I just have to go back to the process, and then I can do the big stuff off to the side every now and then, because I think the danger is that younger Luke would be like, that event was awesome. It's actually cooler than doing the podcasts. Fuck it. I might just start planning the next big event, and like, who cares about the podcast anymore? Maybe I, don't do as many of those and just go like event, and then you become an events business that's all about a sugar rush, that's got no like sustainable business model, because it's just like up and down and lumpy. And when people, like shit, I think, listen to your older self there. I think that's a good call. And you start to chase like the bigger thing again and again. And I see this all the time in business, where then I know, actually, you know what, you just go back to what works and what got you there and keep doing more of that. And it's, I think about it, I guess a better way to think about it would be, rugby players don't just win the final and then go, oh, I'm not playing next year until we get to the final, because that was way better and so much fun. We had a massive party after. They got to go back to preseason. They got to show up at preseason and be in good nick. Then they got to go through that. Then they got to go through getting to the final again, then the semi-finals and whatnot. But I think, we as humans are always just chasing the next shiny big thing to do, when sometimes we just have to suck it up and do the boring stuff so that we can have the sexy moments later on. Yeah. Gee, bit of a rant for you there, but hopefully there's something in there for you. You came on the podcast to talk, and I've just chewed up another 15 minutes just getting through that. Right, you had an example for me of $10,000 worth of debt. Do you have that somewhere?
Oh, I do. Yeah. So I was trying to figure out. So people think, oh, well, it doesn't really make much difference if my interest rate's a bit lower. Right. Well, actually, it does make a big difference. So if you've got a $10,000 loan and you're going to pay it off over 4 years, right? If your interest rate's at 15%, it's going to cost you about $3,300-ish in interest over that period. If your interest rate's at 25%, you're at $5,900 of interest. So
wow.
Exactly. So it's actually, interest rates do matter. The thing with Sweet Spot is that then on top of the lower interest rate, so you've already saved a heap, you've saved $3,000, $2,500 by having a low interest rate. That same loan, you'd earn like nearly $600. You'd be given $600 for doing your financial education. So not only is your interest rate lower, like I can't really do the maths on what the equivalent interest rate would have been.
Yeah.
But
the effective rate is such.
Yeah, exactly. Lower. It's a lot lower, right?
Yeah.
So there is no other lender in the market. There's no other lender in the world that does what we do around.
World beating.
We are world beating. Like, it's bonkers to me. Like, I wish there were $1,000. Like, lower interest rates. Get people to do education. They're less likely to fall behind because they know more. Reward them for doing good stuff. Sweet. Get to do it all over again for somebody else. So you end up like $3,000 better off if you've got a credit card set at 25% versus a loan with Sweet Spot of 15%. And I guess the other thing that we don't talk about a lot is that, if I could say one thing, the finance system charges people default interest and default fees and admin fees and documentation fees. If your listeners have got any facilities, check all the fees you're being charged every month as well, because that adds to the total cost that you're paying every month.
Yeah.
And that's money going to them instead of you. So are you happy about that?
And are those fees sometimes different to the interest rate? So you'll be paying an interest rate, yeah, but then you think, oh, my rate's pretty cheap, but then you're also paying a weekly fucking statement fee or something.
Exactly, like the statement fees, an admin fee, I phoned you fee,
Yeah.
a documentation fee, like this
Christmas party fee.
it feels like there's a fee for bloody everything. Whereas we've got two fees. We've got a you applied and we gave you a loan fee. And we've got a you haven't paid anything for 60 days and we've tried our best fee. Because there's an operational cost. Those are the only two things. We don't charge anything else.
Yeah.
But people charge fees for bloody everything.
Yeah.
And then if you fall behind, a normal lender will go, you mistake. Guess what I'm going to charge you? Default fee. And then they'll charge you some default interest because you're behind. Whereas we'll go, shit, you're behind. What happened, mate? What happened? Let's get you back on track. You know what? If you do your financial education, you'll earn some points. There can be some money that will get you out of your arrears and get you back on track. Is that all right? Sweet. Go do that then.
Nice. And who's making these calls? Like, is this, to reach out to these people that do get behind, for instance? Are you guys physically having a
we do it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, on that, the rates, what a lot of people forget, and I've been massive on this as inflation's been really high, as the cost of living has increased so much, more and more people are into higher tax brackets. So that means that a lot more of their income is getting taxed at 30% or 33%. So then it becomes harder. So when you talk about $5,900 of interest, you have to pay with that in after tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, income, which years ago wouldn't have hurt as much because you wouldn't be losing 30% of your income over what was 48,000. It's now higher than that. But I think it's a subtle thing that people haven't really understood, and then to try and then clear the debt. So that's why I think it's become really hard for people, because the cost of living's increased. They're losing, and a lot of that $40,000 or $48,000 worth of income is needed for the cost of living in New Zealand now. Then every dollar after that is effectively being taxed at 30%. Yes, I appreciate that that's changed with the tax rates from the 1st of August or whenever it was, but the principle is the same, is that then by the time you then have 70% left over and now you need to pay your credit card interest and then try and clear debt, pretty bloody hard. You've just basically...
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to share that back with the Sweet Spot customers.
Do it.
Christ, I am, yeah. Because and that's the thing, like when everybody keeps talking about, oh, well, you just need to budget better. Like bullshit. Actually, people are bloody amazing budgeters, because actually at the moment they don't have much, with most people that we help are kind of earning around that 65,000 mark.
Yeah.
And people are amazing at budgeting, but sometimes you can't just cut your costs. You need to look at the other side of the equation, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like a good way to think about it, if that's the average income, is that then say those people, say you're earning 65 grand, if you then go and take out a 2 grand buy now pay later facility or a 2 grand credit card, it's like 3 grand. Because to clear it, you've got to go and earn 3 grand to pay the tax on the 3 grand to then be left with 2 grand to then go and pay it back off. So when someone thinks like, right, I'm going to get a 5 grand personal loan that earns that amount of money, but they've already allocated all of their budget, then to actually clear that, they have to then realize, oh, wow, it's not 5 grand. It's actually a lot more of that if it were a pay rise that they were going to use to pay it off.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. And again, I think it's hard for some people to understand, but I think I often talk about it because the odd person has said, oh shit, that completely changed the way that I thought about debt. 2 grand isn't 2 grand anymore. It's actually what it's going to take me to make it, to then pay the tax, to then try and pay it back. But what is cunning and smart about debt is that it is, and I see this all the time with business owners, where they go and buy a vehicle. I say, what's the rate? Oh, I don't know. And I think, man, like, shouldn't you know a little bit better? But what it is in their head when they're there on the car yard or whatever, they're like, what's the monthly payment? Oh yeah, I think I can manage that. Sweet. I don't care about any other detail.
Yep.
And so they're not thinking, okay, if it's a 30 grand loan, what am I going to have to make in terms of profit to then pay my tax on that to then actually clear that debt if I want to?
Yeah, completely true.
Yeah. Oh, debt. The world of debt. You must love it. You must be deep in it now.
Deep in debt. I'm also deep in debt,
Yeah. Sheesh. Well, I'm sure you've got a good solution to help you get out of that. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would like to discuss? Any stats or anything that we didn't go over?
I don't think so. It's just more, I think that like we're not, as Money Sweetspot, we're not a charity. We're a business that sustains ourselves.
Yeah, nice.
So I think people need to expect more of the places they put their money, and that includes their lenders, it includes their banks, it includes everything. And, you know, if what we're doing makes sense, then maybe consider whether you move elsewhere or question what you were paying elsewhere as well. Like, be in charge of your debt, be in charge of your finances, question why you're being charged fees, question, because it's your money. And like you just said, you know, you've got to earn a shitload more of it to get the same amount back.
Yeah. Nice. So take care of it. Nice. Okay. Well, if people want to find you guys again, moneysweetspot.co.nz, you're on Instagram as well.
Yep.
Any other platforms?
Facebook, LinkedIn.
Cool.
All of them.
You've got a newsletter that goes out as well, I think.
Got a newsletter. You can join that off the website as well. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, Sasha, it has been great to catch up and learn more about Money Sweetspot. Any final nugget you can leave the people out there who are maybe thinking about tackling some big, bold problem and having a go at it and trailblazing and trying to build something that the world's never seen before? What advice would you give to those people?
What would I? If you want to build something trailblazing, start with talking to people and connecting and understanding what's really going on. Like, trailblazing starts by tiny little baby steps, and then the baby steps and the conversations, before you know it, something's happened anyway. Like, just keep going.
Nice.
Just keep going. Surround yourself with fucking amazing people that realise how hard it is and prop you up when it becomes harder than you ever imagined.
I like it. And how many no's have you had through this process, or people that have gone like, what the hell, not this?
Oh, God, hundreds.
Really?
Easy hundreds, like easy. And continue. People still think we're mad.
Yeah.
But I'm like, cool, we're mad, and we're a startup that's cash neutral, that's doing cool things, that did set up, like, cool, whatever. So I just don't listen to them now, whereas before I used to think that somehow I was, you know,
a failure or something.
Mad.
Mad, yeah. Yeah, you let them tell you what you are. Yeah.
I know I'm mad now, that's the difference.
You just lean into it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And did the no's get easier?
The no's have got easier. I've got like a mantra that is kind of that the right people will come. So I'd much prefer a fast no, because I know that you're not my people.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, if you don't get it, that's awesome. Great. And I'll listen and I'll reflect. But actually, the no, I'm not going to keep putting my energy to convince no's into a yes. I'm going to focus on that ecosystem of people that kind of get it and figure out that there is a different way.
Love it. Yeah, trailblazers can't waste their time trying to convince everybody, especially when it's smaller. You've got to convince the people who get it, and then eventually those who don't get it may get it. But a lot of the people who don't get it will never want to get it because they won't want to admit that they should have got it from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, that's a mouthful.
That was a very long sentence. Like Sweet Spot's grown because people that we've helped want to help people. That's our biggest referral channel, is people that we've already helped, you know. So those people are being trailblazing, right? We're creating a community, a new community of people that want to be out of debt and on with their life. And that's all through this word of mouth.
Love it. Well, I hope some of the Keep the Change audience get in behind you and help you spread the word. And also some of those who are listening who need the help can take this as a reminder that it's okay to reach out and ask for help and have some education that things like this exist. I look forward to watching you continue to build this out. And if there's anything that we can do as a community of Keep the Change, then please don't hesitate to ask.
Amazing. Thank you.
No worries.